Dealing with a fellow student that was causing most of us grief. Nuclear revenge. This occurred when I was in college back in the 1990s. I was attending a private college in Canada that was quite famous for its program. It was tough to get in, had limited seats, and was an accelerated course. Classes were 8:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, mix of lab and classes, and 9 to 1 p.m. on Saturdays for one of the labs. Without fail, after the first few weeks, people were getting accused of cheating because they were handing in labs that were the same as others had. Every lab was unique, so there could be no duplication. The profs would assume that the first person who handed it a particular lab was the one who did it and that anyone else who did it was cheating. Over a few months myself, one of my roommates and several of our friends, around 8, had been warned about cheating. A few were blamed twice, and their mark was recorded as 0 for that lab. One was expelled for a third occurrence. To say that we were upset about this was an understatement. The courses were hard enough without having to deal with a 0 or being kicked out. It took us a bit to work out who was doing it. What we found out is one of our classmates would make a copy of someone else's lab if they stepped away, i.e. to go to the bathroom, and didn't get someone to guard their papers. We went to the profs and admins and they wouldn't do anything as we didn't have definitive proof, and said it wasn't possible as he had been caught for cheating once too. What do a group of overachieving, pissed-off nerds do? Revenge. One of our friends followed him to his home one night. He lived 30 to 40 minutes outside of the city. Once we had his address, we came up with a plan. If he can't get to class, he can't copy our shit. A trip to a hardware store for some supplies. We went there at 3 a.m. a few days later. Once we got to where he lived, we put his car up on blocks, deflated, and cut open a large hole in the top of the tires. They filled them with quick-set post cement that some of us had been mixing on the drive there. After 20 to 30 minutes we took his car off the blocks and left. Note it takes about 5 gallons to fill a tire. He didn't show up to class for a few days, due to car issues, but he was back late that week, and a few weeks it looked like he learned his lesson. Then he somehow copied my roommate's, for the third time, and my roommate got the boot. He was livid, all of us were pissed off. So we went with a new plan. Roommate wanted to kill him. Took several hours to get him not to. I spent a few evenings getting some things prepared. Several of us were making and drying copious amounts of rust. Well, a few were filing down some aluminium fence tension bars. I mixed them together in a specific ratio and added a few dozen chunks of magnesium ribbon, put it all in a mason jar, went for a visit at the end of the week. The roommate placed the jar on the hood of his car, stuck some MG ribbon into the top, lit it, and ran like hell to where we were parks a block away. And that was that. Those of us still in school were mostly able to graduate with a tech diploma or technician and technologist diploma. The problematic classmate only came back one time to get all of his stuff that was at the school. He talked to a few people in the class trying to figure out if someone there had did it or if it was someone else. Apparently he had pissed off a lot of people over the time he lived there. He said the car was totaled. Insurance didn't pay out due to having only PLPD. Couldn't afford a new one. The town he lived in was going after him for the damage to the road from the thermite. Landlord had asked him to leave as well due to him being the target of vandals.